I'm Jaclyn Johnson.
And I'm Marina Middleton.
And this is WorkParty, a podcast that's part work and part party. WorkParty celebrates a new generation of women who are redefining the meaning of work on their own terms and having fun while doing it.
In this podcast, we are diving into all the areas of being a working woman: mind, body, and business. No topic is off limit.
Real talk and hot takes. Think of us as your internet work wives. This is WorkParty,
the podcast.
Wait, where's the champagne? Today we're chatting with a powerhouse in the media world, Aleen Dreksler, co-founder and chief executive officer of Betches Media, the wildly popular multi-platform brand known for its unfiltered takes on pop culture, dating, wellness, and everything in between. What started as a satirical blog between three college friends has grown into a media empire with a reach of 250 million across platforms, top-ranked podcast, a fast-growing product line, and a wildly loyal audience. And here's a bonus. You can catch Aleen live this summer at the largest festival for women in business, our biggest event of the year, designed to help women in business level up. We're so excited about that. We're bringing together today's boldest voices in entrepreneurship, social media, sports, and more, and Aleen will be right there on stage sharing her insights IRL. So let's get right into it. Welcome, Aleen.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
We're so excited to have you. So we've been friends for a while. Like we've been back in the day. Like I remember when Betches was, huge still back then, but we were always kind of collaborating and talking and doing a bunch of stuff. But let's go back to the early days. I remember specifically, was it a New York Times article?
Yeah.
It was this New York Times article, and it was like you and your other co-founders, and it was basically like these college girls that built this media empire. And this was years ago.
Yeah, 2013.
13.
That it came out. That article came out.
Yeah. So tell us about that moment and how it kind of changed everything and how you guys kind of came together and started this.
That article came out in 2013 because we launched our book then, like our first book came out. And so also we used that moment to come out of anonymity because when we launched the blog, the three of us, we've been friends since we were children. Like we went to elementary school together, like on the bus together, like we're 10-year-olds on the bus together with our backpacks. And we went to college together in our senior year of college. Cornell was 2011. Back then it was like Facebook was the social media of choice. Instagram, it existed, but nobody used it or knew about it. The algorithm was working in our favor. Yep. We were just really sharing because it was fun to share. And at that time, we in college noticed that there was like such a strong culture for guys in college. We're 21, so like there's like a bro culture where it really, we felt like men were just like empowered to be themselves in the most like kind of bro-y way. They celebrated calling each other that. And for women online or young girls, it felt like that didn't exist. It was everything for us was how to be perfect, how to be perfect on this date, how to please your guy, like everything that you see, all of that. Yeah. And everything was very sweet. And also we were in a sorority and there was so much of that also like in real life. Like it was like if you go to a frat party, then like make sure you blow out your hair if you have curly hair, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. And the three of us, we were like, no, absolutely not. Like, and at the same time on television, there was Mean Girls with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. Rihanna was just this like unapologetic pop star. Chelsea Handler was literally saying anything she wanted on television. We were like, why doesn't that exist online? So the three of us, we were like, hey, we're funny. Let's just start this anonymous blog because we need to have jobs after college. It was senior year. And we started this blog where we were just kind of making fun of ourselves. It was purely satirical. Now you can't really do satire en masse because you can't. And we had a friend post the blog on another friend's wall, like I was saying, wall to wall, and it went viral because people were sharing it because they felt like we were resonating with them. Like the content that we were making, which was purely self-deprecating. It wasn't like how to do anything. It was a how-to, but it was purely like, let's make fun of ourselves. And what we didn't realize that we were doing then was embracing, but also identifying the unique behaviors of millennial women before we were even called millennial.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of kept growing and growing, and we wrote a book, and that's when that Times article came out. And then we've written 2 bestsellers since, and we grew the company, we bootstrapped it. We never raised any money as the three of us. Like I was pre-med. Like I had no clue what it meant. I was just in a meeting earlier today and I was talking about how I had no clue what even like arbitrage is, at the time. Yeah. Like, because I was like, I don't know how to make money on a website. I just know how to make a content. Everything we did was about the audience.
And it was the beginning times of making money on the internet. Like, I feel like it wasn't like how it is now where I feel like it's like you have affiliates, you have this. It was like display ads.
It was all display, but business, but BuzzFeed was making a lot of money. Like they were really big, like Cosmo,
Jezebel,
everything.
Gawker. It was all that era.
It was huge. And I had no idea what any of that meant, how you made money. I felt like it was a bit of a boys' club. And I didn't really want to pay the fee to enter. So I was like, let's just do it our own way. And yeah, here we are.
Brandon, what sorority were you in?
A Phi.
Okay, I was in Phi Sigma Sigma, but I like really resonated with exactly what you said in terms of this like boys club and the fraternities, and it was just like everything was so magnified for them, where for women it was just like different content that existed. You guys have obviously grown so much, but like your brand voice is very clear and it's very strong. Can you talk a little bit about some of the non-negotiables that you guys have, and how have you kept like being able to grow and evolve the brand throughout the years?
Well, we evolve with our audience. Like the thing that I have done and we have done most consistently is always build everything audience first, because our clients are so important to us. Like we provide access to this audience, like this extreme trust. But you can't build client first, because then you'll dilute your brand. So everything we've ever done was how do we maintain and even strengthen this connection we have to our audience, so much so that our brand becomes a legacy brand and that we really provide some form of value. Like the value we provide is through entertainment, making people laugh and making them feel like not as alone on this planet, especially women, and just maintaining that voice consistently with our hires, with every piece of content. And it's been 14 years. And I think that, sometimes we'll stray, but we always reel it back in. And I think it's been fun to be able to evolve. Yeah. Because again, we started as a blog, then we launched our Instagram, then we started a shop. Then I remember when Instagram stories came out and we were like, what is this? We were cutting out construction paper and making stories with construction paper, because we had no idea how to create content like on stories.
Yeah, no, it was
because Snap at the time, you weren't like making content in that way. It was a different application. So we were doing that for a while. It was just evolving and knowing exactly where your audience is, because you were so connected to them, and just not being afraid of change. That's been pretty much like non-negotiable.
I love that. And like, obviously, I think like we started around the same time. We both bootstrapped our companies. Obviously, we were more career. You guys were more like, again, that like hilarious, like satire. But like along the way, like you guys grew a big team, you like an office space in New York City. How were you guys, the three of you, like learning how to lead along the way as you're building this business for the first time?
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have investors, right? Like, so you don't really have someone to tell you what to do in both as a positive and as a negative, because sometimes, when you bring on investors, they start to like really add a voice that you don't necessarily need, or like sometimes hurts the vision. I've brought on some advisors throughout our history, but I can't say that I've ever had like a real true mentor.
Yeah.
But I did recently, I just launched a Substack where it's called Please Advise. It's completely free for young women, where I kind of just answer questions that they email me or DM me. So I can be kind of that mentor almost to myself 10 years ago, and answering a lot of questions as it relates to women, whether they're a mom and trying to balance their career. So many questions about that. Or like how to deal with friendship relationships as it pertains to work, or take the work out of it. It's like a lot of like cross dimensional things. Not one person is really that interested in just one singular thing. It's always like we're just these, I don't know, we have so many identities as women, and there's and rarely do you find some place or someone to kind of like guide you in both. And I never had that kind of mentor. So how did we do it? Yeah, just honestly like leaning on each other.
Yeah,
I think that was what really was helpful. Yeah, leaning on each other. The fact that there was 3 of us, there's always a natural tiebreaker. We were willing to make mistakes and owning them, learning from them, never doing them twice, making the same mistake twice, just kind of, and then having that shared vision, I think, like, and if anybody ever kind of strayed, we like got back and we talked, like, what are we doing this for? What's the end goal? What do we want to keep building? And so, yeah, just like a lot of communication, but it was hard.
Yeah. I'm like in that right now with, we were talking a lot about like leadership, and it is very, very hard. And to your point, it's not even my questions that I have. I do have a leadership coach, and that was a new thing for me that Jaclyn had recommended. And it's interesting, the questions that we have, it's not just, hey, how do I do this? It's like, okay, how do I do this and also have work-life harmony and be present for my son and also be a great wife and also show up as a CEO? You know what I mean? Like, it's just this very multifaceted, identity that we have. You touched on it a little bit earlier, and you talked about community, and we talk about this a lot where everyone's like, I'm going to build a community. I'm going to build a community. And it's like, I feel very strongly about the community is a byproduct of what you do and what you offer on your product and the experience that you have. And so talk to us a little bit about like, truly, how did you build this very, very loyal, tight-knit audience? And like, how did that grow all the time, like year over year for 14 years?
Yeah. Again, it was about the connection.
Yeah.
We made like everything was audience first. So we made our product was our content. The product was for an audience. We were never really thinking, what can we take from them? It was just constantly give value. Like I said, in one shape or form. Is that the phrase? Yeah. Whether it's just like, let me make you laugh as much as possible. How can I give you something to send to a friend because it represents your identity now in some way? How can we help you feel or be moved in some way? How can I create content where it bonds two people, where Betches is the glue? Like, that was really interesting, especially with our podcast and our IP. We found that to be something that worked. And it's not like we were doing it because we need to make these people like love us. It was like
organic.
Like, how do you make something where you're not tricking someone to come back? Like, they come back on their own. Yeah. And that was 100% the plan from day one. And it still continues to be kind of the ethos. And I think in part it was because I didn't understand, like, we weren't marketers. We were just like, okay, so you guys are all like, all these big media sites were like, you're all like trying to trick me to click this so that you can then monetize it. That click, you're paying for that click, but you're just trying to make like that again, arbitrage that I learned later on. But I'm like, why don't you just make something where somebody you're not paying for that click? I mean, now it's so much harder because the algorithms are tough and you have to sort of break through. But why don't you just make something really good that somebody wants?
Yeah.
Have them read it and then have them share it on their own because it's so good, and have them like come back to you because they love it and they love you. And it's truly was just that over and over and over again.
I relate so much to that because that's like exactly what I think. Again, we were like right time, right place a little bit in like the early 2010s doing this, but like that was the model. And I was so confused when I was like, wait, do I need to be doing like Google ads or what? I was just like, I'm not doing any of that. I don't know how to do any of that.
Exactly.
But I was going to say, Create and Cultivate and Betches, I felt like evolved with their audience very, very well. And I feel like for you guys, like you continue, even from like the sports section and women in sports and having that side of media, you evolve with the culture, but also as your audience grows. So can you talk a little bit about that and like how you do it so quickly?
Having a nimble team, having a nimble operation, you have to just keep innovation at like the forefront of your values, which it is. And just like lead with innovation. Like that to me is the biggest thing, is everything we do, anybody on my team comes to me with an idea or something, I'm like, okay, like, are we doing something to copy somebody else? Or how can we do the next thing? Like, let's evaluate what's going on now And are you doing something because somebody else is doing it and you want to catch up? Okay, so we missed it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now let's imagine what the next thing is. And just really evaluating being in the right place at the right time always. Sometimes you'll miss it. That's fine.
Totally.
Don't spend all your money to catch up. Like, that's such a waste. Always think ahead and think, how can you innovate? And how can you drive, again, value for customer, your audience, your client, and think about the future.
Yeah.
And that's how you just really stay cutting edge. With sports, I mean, I saw that coming a mile away. And but at the same time, what I didn't understand was, I'm a woman. I don't only watch women's sports.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yes.
And so I'm like, but at the same time, my husband, he's obsessed with sports. I watch all of his like sports content with him sometimes. So not because I want to, but husband and wife.
Yeah.
Gotta put in the time. And I'm like, none of this is for women. Like, this is like, you guys are talking, this isn't like rocket science, and yet there's such a barrier of entry for a woman who's a fan of sports, men's sports and women's sports. So I was like, there isn't really an experience like that for women. And so I was like, we need to do it right now. It was like a very quick, like, we need to be doing that within 12 months. And so we started building, and we're like, we need to come out with some version of a product. And again, like to your question, we don't wait until something is perfect and huge to launch.
Just get it out there.
Just get it out there, and the money will come later, and see if the audience even want it. See if it's a fit. And yeah, just kind of really feel like having your ear to the ground about like what is going on in the
you
world.
definitely do it differently, because even for media and just sports on that side, media always, when they talk about women in sports, they think of like, WNBA athletes, and it's just like, okay, well, what about the women that power the business of sports? What about the women that are fans of sports?
No,
what
literally.
and so it's just like, it's actually very funny. And so I love that you guys
and then the NFL like saw us, and they're like, wow, this is exactly what women's media should be doing. And we made an amazing partnership this year with the NFL. Like, just it was really cool and validating to be recognized by like the biggest sports league in the world, to feel like, okay, we're on the right path. And we're going to keep building out, again, like that IP within that brand, that business.
Yeah.
See what else it can bring.
So you guys are bootstrapped, obviously. Also, we're bootstrapped, and you guys were acquired, which is so exciting. You and I both know how hard that is.
Yeah.
And anytime a bootstrap company gets acquired, I'm like cheering from the rooftops, because I know the mountain you climbed to get to that.
Well, I remember our phone call. It was like during COVID.
Yeah, we
and
chatted.
you were like giving me like all of this.
Yeah. Us girlies, we talk. Yeah. No, we had been acquired, and you called me, and you're like, how? What? When? Where?
What'd you do?
Yeah, what'd you do? Tell me everything.
Yeah.
But you have to, because I don't think, again, especially as bootstrap businesses, because typically if you have venture's going to venture's going to help you get that acquisition done, because that's their end goal. But when you're bootstrapped on your own, no one's there to tell you what to do.
No.
But tell us about that process and how it's changed, the business and all the things.
So we were always profitable, and we did that by design, so that we didn't really have to rely on anybody, and that we only hired as much as we can fund, that like how much we can spend, and made sure there was some money at the end so that we can invest it back in the business the following year, and so on. So we weren't really like looking, but I was always researching, and I was always thinking, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. Obviously, at some point, we got to give this like vision a home, to power it. So, I mean, I've had so many conversations through the years with so many different types of like either strategic investors or PE or VC. And I went pretty far down really conversations. And I found that that phrase is so true. You have to kiss a lot of frogs. Mm-hmm. And it's not because I was looking to exit at all. I really believed that Betches as a brand is a legacy. And in order for me and us to see out that vision, it needed to be powered by a larger strategic business.
Yeah.
And that's kind of who I found in Lab Bible Group. It's like the perfect partnership, and I'm so glad that I waited this long. And they're in the UK. They're a massive UK based media business, also extremely disciplined in how they're profitable. They are public in the UK, so that's been kind of interesting for me.
I'm sure.
Just like dove right in. I sold the business 100%, which has been crazy. And I'm still extremely excited to be on the team and now like see that vision through. The experience was like interesting. I mean, I was 10 months pregnant.
Oh, perfect.
When I sold.
No, thank you.
Actually,
so
like we
wow.
signed the papers and I was
You're
like,
like
okay,
releasing
bye.
one baby, welcoming a new one.
I said, bye, I'll see you in 4 months. I'm on maternity leave. I had phone calls. I wanted to have phone calls the morning after, like, on having my baby. Thankfully, it was my second baby. The first one, I wouldn't be able to have done that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have known what to expect.
Yeah.
But no, it was crazy, that part. And it made me so much stronger. And I felt like that I went through, and I wrote about this in that Substack, but I went through this like extreme transformation. Like I felt like I just was shed another layer of my body, being both, I don't want to have any more kids. So I like finished that. I came out, I have a new business now, like I'm running this new version of my business. I can kind of like just, I don't know how to explain it. I just kind of came out and I started going in a different direction and I love it. I feel like I'm having the most fun. I mean, it's really hard, really, really hard. We're professionalizing the operations of the business because as a bootstrap company, you're not like spending money on like, how do I make the best ops? No, I want to spend money on my product and my sales, and everything else can come later. But this part has been challenging and learning completely new things, but it's fun for me. And yeah, I feel like I'm just stretching as a human being and I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. Where can everyone learn more about you, your Substack, Betches, all the things?
You can follow me at Aleen on Instagram. You can follow my Substack, Please Advise, on Substack. You can find it in my bio. You can follow Betches at Betches, Betches.com. We have a billion other verticals and handles. You can follow at Betches Sports. And we have another really exciting one coming out this year, which I will not tell you yet, but it will happen. As you said, we're evolving. And and you can see me at Create and Cultivate.
Yeah, at the festival.
Can I tell you that I remember being at Create and Cultivate in Dallas? It was like 2015 or something. And it was so fun. I had these, you gave out cowboy boots that I loved. And I met this girl and she introduced me to my makeup artist, who was my makeup artist at my wedding. And now I still use them.
I love a Create and Cultivate story like that.
So
yeah,
great.
you can meet. You never know who you're gonna meet.
Never know, and I loved it. But
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
Can't wait.
We're
Yeah.
so excited for you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Work Party. If you like what you heard, follow, leave a review, rate the pod, or slide into our DMs.
Check out the different ways you can create and cultivate on our website, createcultivate.com. From retreats and masterminds to our summits and festival.
We have different experiences to support you through your entrepreneurial journey from launch
to legacy.
Follow us at Create Cultivate on all platforms, and don't forget, work hard.
Party on.
Please note that this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services. Individuals on the show may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to in this episode.